This is probably the last video I'll make on the topic until the event, unless there's some earth-shattering leak we get before the event. Okay, I was not expecting to be on camera again this soon. I was not expecting to be making a video literally one day after I said that maybe if there was more groundbreaking news, I'd make one last iPhone 14 leaks video, but I feel like this is just kind of too big to ignore, and that is that basically everything we know about the iPhone 14 Pro design up until this point may have been completely wrong. So let's take a step back a little bit and let's go over the kind of timeline of these leaks. So initially, when we were talking about iPhone 14 leaks, we were talking about a new design for the iPhone 14 Pro. I think John Prosser kind of leaked this first, and he kind of showed us a design that basically turned out to be not true at all. But the initial design of what we thought we were getting with the initial iPhone 14 Pro was a single camera cutout. And as you probably know, if you've been up to date on your leak videos, that turned out to be wrong, right? Like the iPhone 14 Pro is not gonna have a single hole punch camera. Now, after that, we kind of got more confirmation or more leaks on the design of what the iPhone 14 Pro would look like. And at the time, there were two different kind of designs floating around. There was kind of like this big cutout at the top, and then the other design was two separate cutouts. So there was like this pill shape on the top and then a hole punch as well. And if you've watched a lot of my videos, or I guess other people's videos in the Apple community, you probably know that that is the design we were all expecting. We were all expecting this two cutout design with the bigger pill shape and then the hole punch. It kind of looks like an eye. I've been calling it the eye hole. And that is what the design we were expecting for the iPhone 14 Pro up until this point. However, we now have further clarification on how Apple is going to use that display space and how they are going to be filling in between the cutouts with software. So this was a leak that was floating around last minute, basically saying that Apple was going to use the OLED panel, which can basically turn off individual pixels to give you perfect black level, right? It's not like an LCD. So if they turn off the pixels in that area, it's going to look like it matches exactly with those cutouts. And they would create just one big cutout at the top rather than doing two separate cutouts. And this was like a last minute sketchy rumor, and it wasn't gaining much traction until basically a few hours ago as I'm recording this, Mark Gurman from Bloomberg came out and said, this is true, that Apple was not going to be displaying two separate cutouts with the eye hole, and they were just going to fill in the OLED display, or I guess turn off the OLED display, and just give us one single cutout at the top, one big cutout across the top. And that is basically the design of the iPhone 14 Pro if Gurman is right. And I do trust Gurman on this. He has probably one of the best track records when it comes to reporting on Apple information. And for him to come out 7 days before the event and tell us that the iPhone 14 Pro design is going to look like this, that is almost confirmed at this point that the iPhone 14 Pro design is just gonna have, it'll physically have two cutouts, but when you actually turn on the phone, it's just gonna have a bigger cutout at the top. We're not gonna get that eye hole design. If you like that design, and I don't blame you, I've kind of come to like that design. I felt like it looked very unique. I thought, okay, this is kind of like an Apple design. They got two separate cutouts. It looks like an eye. That's perfect for iPhone. And this is something that Apple would do, right? They would give you very distinct visual branding on these new iPhone Pro units. It's something that even if it's taking up more display space, really no other manufacturer is making their phone look like that. So I thought, okay, this is clearly the design that Apple is going to go with. And at first I was like, okay, it's a little bit weird. Maybe it'll look distracting. But over time, I actually grew to like these designs. All the renders that have been coming out by people like Renders by Ian, LD Vova on Twitter. He's been doing some like amazing renders, sending me like files all the time. I thought the design looked amazing, or at least the way the renders were done by the people who are doing these professional renders. They made this design look really cool. That's basically to say, we have gotten used to this design. I have gotten used to these leaked designs, and now with the possibility of that design being removed, I gotta be honest, I'm a little sad. I was getting attached to that design. I was looking forward to having that eye hole on my phone. I don't know why. I just thought the design looked cool, and I thought it was visually distinctive for an iPhone. Now, listen, my thumbnail plans of positioning the phone so the eye is there and then writing in phone, that's probably all ruined at this point. But let's talk about the like what people are thinking in the community, because I've seen a few posts of people who are similarly disappointed with this leak. They have been seeing these renders floating around just like I have. They thought the eye cutout was pretty cool. And now with this being changed last minute, they are disappointed because basically we're just gonna get that bigger cutout at the top. And a lot of people are kind of wondering, what was the point of even getting rid of the notch in the first place if you're really going to take up almost as much display area with basically a bigger cutout? I guess like the only space you'll be saving is that there won't be like, it won't be like going all the way up into the phone like the notch, but really it's really not giving you that much more visual space by changing or getting rid of the notch. And that part I'm less concerned about. Like whether or not you like the design of the renders you've seen floating around like I have, the fact that you would be losing display space isn't a concern to me, because let's be honest, even if you could see the cutouts between both of them, if Apple was to separate that cutout, that really wouldn't add much more display space on the top of the phone. Really, it's still only going to be used to house the status icons, and it's not like if you were browsing a website, you're gonna read more text. Like that is a safe area of the phone. Apple does not let content float up there, and even if you were watching video or something like that, it's probably in 16:9. Even if it did go into the cutout, you wouldn't see any extra information in between those two cutouts. So the idea that you would be getting a lot more visual information by Apple leaving those two separate cutouts separate and not filling in the display, that was never a thing for me. Like, I still feel like this is going to be a pretty close experience to the notch. Either way, they try to implement this design change to the phone. Now, I probably didn't address why Apple made this change in software, or maybe this was the original plan all along, but apparently the reason why they changed this is because having two cutouts was apparently distracting when using your phone. Apparently, I guess they stuck out like a sore thumb, so you would always just see those two cutouts like in the top, and if it was kind of unified, well, that kind of tricked your brain into maybe not paying as much attention to it. That's what I'm guessing anyway, and that's what the reports are kind of seemingly leading to. There's also an exclusive leak out of 9to5Mac basically saying that Apple is planning to use this space in between the cutouts to also show the status icons for when the camera or the microphone is on. So apparently that's going to kind of light up in between where those two cutouts are. So I guess that's kind of like a new visual look for that. And also they might actually use that top area for some other design elements now. Apparently there might be a redesign for the camera app for the iPhone 14 Pro, and then possibly all of the different settings could be housed in that upper status area rather than at the bottom of the phone. So yeah, that's the video. That's basically the only additional pieces of information we have at the iPhone 14 at this point. I did a more in-depth video the other day, if you want to check that out, where I discussed the possibility of the iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Pro getting lower prices, now maybe starting at $749, so you should definitely check that out. There's a couple other tidbits in there as well. And we also talked about the Apple Watch Series 8 and how maybe some of the bands might not be working. Like you might have to get new Apple Watch bands for the new Apple Watch Pro. So that's definitely an interesting video. A lot more information dense than this, a lot more interesting than this too. We just talked about a cutout for, I don't know, 8 minutes or something like that. So who knows what you're interested in. Maybe no one watched this video. Did you watch this video? Let me know in the comments below. All right, that's it. That's the show. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you in 6 days, right? iPhone event, 6 days. Bye.